Hey guys, what's up? This is Commander Corv'iin from Sinbad ED, and welcome to the third episode of Exploring Elite Dangerous. I apologize for not doing one of these for quite a while, but I was actually trying to gather all the footage I needed for this episode because this is the biggest episode that we have. After a while, I kind of figured out that a lot of the stuff is very rare. It's extremely rare and very hard to come across. So I was not able to find everything, so instead I just said, screw it. Let's just do an episode. I'll tell you what to look for, and you can discover it for yourself. So we're going to do that. And if you hear some keyboard clicking and mouse clicks in the background, it's because I'm currently exploring as we do this. So multitasking is very, very real right now. So the first thing we're going to talk about is where to explore. Now, most people usually try to go exploring just to either see the sights or to get their name on something. If you're looking to get your name on something, I would definitely go off the beaten path. Nebulas are not going to be your friends just because they're kind of like markers that people go to, be like, hey, there's a nebula over there, I'm going to go to it, just because, again, nebulas are shiny, they're colorful, and they're very pretty. People are going to go there, and odds are they've explored everything to do with that nebula. Does that mean all nebulas are explored? No. It just means that you're less likely to find something around nebulas that has not been already found yet. So if you're going for something that you want to put your name on, definitely make sure that you go off the beaten path and somewhere where people don't usually go. Usually just in the spaces between celestial objects, there's a very good place. I usually find that a lot of stuff has not been discovered about 5,000 light years outside the bubble. Pretty much any direction you can go from there is a good spot to start. If you're going for some cool sights, definitely go for nebulas. Nebulas are the best place for that. Reason being is because, again, as I said before, they're colorful balls of gas in space, and they're very colorful. They provide some pretty good views on planets, or good views with planets if you're going for screenshots or nice cinematic footage and stuff. So if you're doing that, go for nebulas. Now, the next thing to talk about is what to actually explore. So when I say this, there's exploring and then there's efficiently exploring. Efficient exploring is something to actually get the most credits out of your time if you're going for elite rank and exploring. So there are certain things that will actually get you a lot more progress towards that than just by staying in the same star system for an hour just because you popped your scanner and all of a sudden there are 45 astronomical objects in there. You don't want to be there for that long. It's a waste of time. Not everything is worth as much for scanning. Trust me, you'll save a lot of time. So what to actually look for to basically cut down on your time actually scanning is the first thing you want to look for are volcanic high metal content planets. These are very obvious in the system map. They're basically black balls of rock, and they're volcanic. Like when you go up to them in your ship, you can very much see the lava flows on the planets, and they're usually very close to their parent stars, like within 25 light seconds of it. It's pretty close, like closer than what Mercury is to Sol. So the next planet you want to look for is you want to scan any gas giant with a ring system. Reason being is because odds are you'll very likely find, or your ship will most likely find some form of life in the gas giant's atmosphere or ring system. Of course you can scan gas giants without rings, but it's more worth your time to scan ones with rings because there's some really stupid high chance of finding life within the rings, and that's worth more than just a standard gas giant. So that's something you definitely want to look out for. The next one, actually the next three, are very, very, very obvious, and you should always scan these if you find them, unless of course they're like 300,000 light seconds away in a binary star system. That's not fun. You can if you want to, but I'm personally going to stay away from those. You want to find water worlds, earth-likes, and terraformable worlds. So now, these three things are technically all different. Water worlds and earth-likes usually are terraformable just by default, because otherwise they wouldn't look the way that they do. So when you go to scan them, obviously water worlds are just going to be giant blue jewels in space. They're all water. Why wouldn't they be? They're water worlds. And earth-likes, of course, look like water worlds, but they have land on it because they look like Earth. These are one of the most rarest finds out there. If you're really good with astrophysics and astrology just in general, you should know where to find a lot of these, like me. I actually found about 50 of them, 50 undiscovered ones, on my recent exploration trip, so if you know where to look for, you'll definitely find them, but they're definitely one of the more rarer finds out there. And, of course, when I say terraformable worlds, is when you find a star and there are atmosphere-capable planets, like planets that are rated to have an atmosphere, that are kind of in a habitable zone compared to the star, you might want to scan those because odds are they're terraformable, and those are actually worth a pretty penny when you turn them into universal cartographics. Reason being is because this information obviously goes somewhere for future planet settlements, whatever, whenever the game actually expands on, putting colonies out there beyond the bubble. So, obviously certain planets are terraformable, some aren't, just because of their positioning in the solar system, and also just what they're actually made of, because obviously a icy, high metal content planet is not going to be terraformable just because it's covered in ice. That's not going to work. So, now that we talked about where to explore and what to explore, we're going to talk about avoiding potential dangers out there. There are a lot of dangers to explorers, even though it doesn't seem like it. The major one that you're probably going to come across quite often is overheating. This is very easy to avoid just by being careful and attentive, and not staying in the star's scoopable range for too long, because your ship will overheat, and I guarantee you will take some heat damage on your explorations. It's kind of inevitable. Does that mean I recommend you take heat sinks? Absolutely not. It's a waste. Don't do it. Just be smart. Odds are you'll probably only do it once or twice. Who knows? But I mean, it's very easy to fix, because you should have auto field maintenance units to repair your modules for heating damage, and you're good to go from there. Aside from that, you want to avoid neutron stars. Now, these are quite rare, and you can find these on the galactic map with the proper filters, actually. Neutron stars are kind of fickle, because when you first warp into a system, if you don't see a star, you have a problem. An immediate problem. You need to throttle to 0 immediately. That's why I recommend you have a hotkey to throttle to 0. The default key for this is actually hitting X on your keyboard. And of course this is for PC players. If you're not playing this game on PC, what are you doing with your life? So if you don't see a star immediately warping into a system, hit X immediately. Why? Because neutron stars will overheat you very quickly, to the point where you have no time to react if you're not paying attention. Obviously, you should be well aware that something is off when you warp into a system and a star is not in your face. That should be the first warning that you warped into a system with a neutron star at its heart. So once you throttle to 0 after you discover that there is a neutron star in the system, you want to scan that, actually, because they are worth pretty much an instant 30k. And that's quite a bit of progress for just one scan. The next potential threat are black holes. Now, most of the black holes out there are not going to do anything to you, but there are some that are large that will actually pull you out of supercruise and damage your ship without you wanting to. Again, when you see one, just keep your distance, throttle 0, scan it, and move away. It's just best not to go towards it if you can help it. Other than that, there are going to be potential dangers added with the engineer's update. We don't know what those are yet, but the way that the developers have been talking about is that we probably want to start carrying some weaponry on our exploring ships, which kind of makes me cautious a little bit, but we'll see how that plays out in the future, and I'll be sure to update you guys on exactly what dangers are out there when Engineers arrives. So I talked a little bit about efficient exploring a little bit before, but I'm just going to go more in depth of what I mean about that. Have a list of must scans for when you go exploring. Obviously when you start exploring you want to get your name on as many things as possible, right? That would be one thing on your list. Undiscovered astronomical objects. That would be a must scan. Whenever you arrive in the system, doesn't matter where it is, that is a must scan. You will go and scan that. That's fair play. Your other must scans are going to be the 4 things that I listed. Technically 5, but obviously you want to look for volcanics, gas giants, water worlds, earth-likes, and terraformable planets in general. Of course, your must-scans might be different than mine, because sometimes I do pass up some volcanic worlds, Earth-likes, water worlds, just because they're either way out of my way, or I just don't want to scan them. Who knows? I just may not be in the mood for it. So have a list of must-scans, and try to avoid scanning everything in the star system. A good way to gauge how much time you should be spending in the system is that don't try to spend more than 15 minutes in a system scanning stuff. If you're spending more than 15 minutes in a system scanning things, then you're just wasting your time, and you're also just throwing away credits that you could be finding elsewhere if you just jumped to the next system. Alright, so if you're a Horizons player, and wanting to explore, I'm going to give you some pretty cool tips here. If you want to see some pretty cool things, or if you're looking for some synth materials, synth mats. The first thing you want to look for is you want to look for planets/moons less than 1 light second away from each other. This includes dual, I don't know what the term for this is. I'm just going to call them binary planets, but essentially 2 planets that are in orbit of each other in the same location. They're generally pretty close to each other. One in particular is actually one where the barnacles are found. Not Merope, but the one near the Pleiades system of Maya. Yeah, words. And the planet that the barnacles is found on is actually in binary orbit with another planet less than 1 light second away, to the point where it's actually bigger than our moon to Earth. Gives you a pretty cool sight. So if you're a Horizons player and you see planets that are less than 1 light second away from each other, this includes moons with gas giants. Moons with gas giants is especially a good one. Go land on it, check it out, get some good screenshots. Trust me, it's worth it. The next thing you want to look for is if you're looking for unique land features for, maybe canyon racing in your ship, or just driving an SRV along someplace that looks pretty cool, you want to look for high metal content rocky worlds. Reason being is that these have, I shouldn't say they have geological activity, but they do have a lot more features to them than other landable planets and moons. Don't know why it is, but most planets that you find that are rocky high metal contents will have a lot of canyons that you can fly into, or a lot of massive craters that you can fly into as well, drive around, do whatever, grab some screenshots. They're very pretty. Now if you're actually looking for something of use, for rare synth mats or what have you, if you're looking for a Jumponium, what you want to land on is rocky ice worlds. These ice worlds will have those very, very elusive rare materials for you to find. Of course, they're still rare just in general on the ice worlds, but you have a higher chance of finding them there. Reason being, no idea. I just know that I've found quite a bit on rocky ice worlds, and I've very, 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 very rarely found those rare materials on non-ice worlds. So there's just a tip for you. So that's pretty much it. So now you know where to explore, what to explore, how to avoid potential dangers, how to explore efficiently, and you have some tips for me for Horizons players. So there you go. Next episode, we're going to be talking about Horizons itself. So if you don't own Horizons, or if you want to know a little bit more about Horizons, make sure you watch next episode, where we talk a little more in depth of what you can do in terms of exploring with Horizons. And we'll see you guys then. Take care. I'm Commander Corv'iin. Cheers.